Starfleet Underground. Every week, we'll take a look at the latest Star Trek news and then check out a current or classic episode of Star Trek. This week, we take a pause in our Star Trek Discovery Season 2 rewatch and look at the classic Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode, Far Beyond the Stars. We reflect on the frustrations of our own timeline. And just when you think we've gotten too serious, we sneak in a Marilyn Monroe Tribble joke.
Welcome, everybody, back here to Starfleet Underground. This episode is going to be a very special one in dealing with everything that's going on today. But before we get into it, we're going to do the introduction. My name is Nathan. I am the captain of this little vessel here, and we have our full crew complement, starting off with Heather.
Hello, good to see everyone. Captain, I just have to really quickly tell you I'm doing some experimentation with Tribbles. It didn't go like I planned.
What kind of experimentation?
Well, we sort of got a couple more than we originally had, like quite a few more.
That happens with Tribbles.
Don't have them come in again. Oh no, I'm not leaving my cabin today.
Do I have to use the next door over for the other closet in deck 13?
Let's just say there's no more water in the pool. Instead, we just have a furry pool. Like we're just going to jump in the pool and it's all furry little balls in there.
It's all sponge is what you're saying. Great.
It's all red meat underneath.
When they talked about jumping into the balls, they weren't talking about Tribbles.
Oh, God.
Okay, I'm going to have to talk to you, Rocky. We're going to have to put them all in the cargo transporter buffer and leave them there until we can find a place to take them back out again.
I think we can make that happen.
just don't shoot them off into a clean on space.
That's a thought when we get back. Oh, okay, next. We have here Patrick.
Hello. Good to see everyone again.
And of course, Rocky.
Good. Actually, it's afternoon this time around.
It is?
I didn't look at the galactic clock.
Well, check your time zone.
I haven't been out of my quarters all day.
It's all a big time warp.
Did not realize that I just gave the captain more coffee.
It was just scared. I didn't know because we're supposed to be basing our time off of the Galactic Center, and I haven't verified. So you're probably right. Okay,
it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Yes, it is. And thank you for listening to us. We are the podcast where the replicators run all day long. So first off, a little bit of news today. I have one. Those of you that missed going to San Diego Comic-Con, you're going to get a chance to go anyway. Even though the physical location has been canceled, you can go and attend it virtually. They're going to open it up for free. Everybody with the internet access can go on and take part of panels, can take part of different interviews, and everything else will be all online as well. And I know some of you guys are going to get real excited about this, as well as being able to buy exclusives. So vendors are going to have the exclusives ready for you to buy on site. So you're going to have a whole list of delivery trucks coming your way. So that's the news that I have. Anyone else?
I'm just trying to think of how many delivery trucks I can have.
So it's going to come back to season 2 of Picard. He's hoping for that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I've heard rumors that people are ticked off because they said they're going to have full-frontal nudity in there. So
what?
Oh, really? 7 and 9?
I did not hear this.
That's the rumor.
7 and 9.
I don't think she ever will.
Totally going to be 7 and 9.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that everyone around's pause button will be broken.
It can't be Picard doing the full nudity.
You know what, though? No. He could do it. I've seen him pull off nudity before.
Yeah,
what, in Star Trek?
Not in Star Trek.
Oh.
Well, actually, no, I take that back. He was in Star Trek. Yes.
Really?
When there were 4 lights.
Yep.
He did one of those scenes totally nude.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
You just didn't see his Johnson.
Well, it depends on where you put the camera. Yeah, we saw the behind.
That's the way you do it,
It was
right?
television.
You didn't see his number 1. So.
Yeah.
We saw his number 2.
Yes. You know.
Well, apparently the Voyager virtual cast reunion that they did with Kate Mulgrew, Garrett Wang, Roxanne Dawson, Robert Duncan McNeil, Robert Picardo, Robert Beltran, Jerry Ryan, and Ethan Phillips is available on YouTube on the, I guess, Sci-Fi Wires page, Stars in the House. So I get if you can see that now.
Yeah, that's correct. That's where we saw. Yeah, that's the one that Stars in the House. Yeah. Yeah, they did it on YouTube as well, and it's up. You can just go back and rewatch it.
Yep.
So for those of you who have nothing to do, there's a lot coming up. The San Diego thing is going to be taking place on July 22nd, I believe. And if not, I'm sure we'll get a notification and somebody hit us up on corrections, which brings me to corrections. Anybody has any corrections from last episode?
Nope.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was going to bring up because we were talking about Nemesis and was it Nemesis?
No, Insurrection.
No, Insurrection was what we were talking about.
The Baku.
Thank you. The Baku, which I was like, oh, there's the stretchy faced people. And the stretchy faced people actually had a different name, but they're both from the same planet in the first place. So I'm going to let it slide.
So that wasn't the Baku.
Yeah, the Baku was the normal looking people that, were really good with that slow-mo action. And the other guys were the stretchy face guys, but they're all,
which they were descendants of the Baku.
Yeah, they're all the same. They're all the same, but they was just they left and they aged, and the other one stayed home. And because of the beautiful planet that didn't let people age, they just kept younger.
So in that movie, when we saw that and the people just look like normal people, you're saying that's exactly the same as the slime tar monster with Cthulhu tentacles?
No.
The slime tar monster people were that was the Ba'ul, and that was on Saru's planet in Discovery.
Okay. So I got those. I thought you were saying those were the same. Okay.
Yeah.
I was
totally different
mistaken.
people. Yeah, because we're talking separate planets all entirely.
Okay.
But we were referring back to Insurrection. The aliens from both sides of that story were actually the same people.
Indeed.
Yeah, just a different age difference.
Okay. Cool.
At least we had that correction. Outstanding. So in case anybody was confused about that, now they're not.
If you weren't confused before,
you are now.
Just go watch the movie. You'll figure it out.
I was one of the confused people.
My intellect is dizzying.
Now
So let's talk about the episode, man.
Yeah, this one. Far beyond the stars. We're going to warn you. I don't know. At this point in time in history, there's a lot of protests happening right now concerning the killing of George Floyd. And because of that, it's happening all over Earth right now. So we wanted to get into an episode because Star Trek always dealt with racism or unfairness and social issues one way or another, from the original series all the way through. Let that be your last battleground. And very well done by Deep Space Nine with Far Beyond the Stars. It was a really, really good episode in that respect, dealing with death, loss, all kinds of stuff like people are dealing with these days.
I cried both times I watched it, so it's yeah.
And the telling line in that starts off where a lot of people are feeling it right now is what Sisko says before he winds up going back into that world, is when he's sitting at his desk before the prophets make him relive that point, is how much of this can I take?
Yeah, they were going through some really tough times at that moment in time in Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm.
It was, one of those wars they were going through, and they were just talking about losing another friend, another person,
the Cortez, the whole ship.
Yeah.
There's like 400 people on the Cortez.
Horrible. They were going through some really hard times. And if you're watching through the series as it went, you're in the middle of this, and because I haven't watched this in probably a year and a half or so, but coming back to it, it was like, oh yeah, that was really rough times. And of course, Sisko was feeling it. I mean, they said he's carrying the weight of the entire Alpha Quadrant on his shoulders, and he probably was. I mean, he was really going through those tough times. They were really getting burnt out on dealing with this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to point out real quick too, since we're starting to talk about the episode and everything, Avery Brooks directed this, and I just have to say he did an incredible job directing this, plus being the star in it at the same time. And I think this was one of the best episodes in Deep Space Nine because they talked about this. They discussed what needed to be discussed, and he did such an amazing job directing. And
it was written by Mark Scott Zickrey, and he's a white guy. But you wouldn't have known that this was written by someone who was white. I mean, it's very what am I trying to say here? It's told appropriately, and I mean, you would think that Avery Brooks wrote it. You know what I mean?
As they were going through the process, though, they had a lot of script changes. So, for example, one of the script changes that they did was instead of Jake being the one shot and killed, and then you know how Sisko got beat up after that. What happened was Michael Dorn was going to be dating a white woman, and then that's what the controversy that sparked the whole beating and everything from the cops. So that's one of the things that they changed in the script.
Interesting.
The thing which really it gives the show what it talks about, him having his vision and to go back and the frustration, you follow him and you get a chance to see the frustration that he is experiencing. There was a little bit of a high point on this, is that you get a chance to see Aaron Eisenberg again.
Yeah,
as the newspaper vendor, which was really, really good seeing him.
He just loves the flying saucers. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Yeah, and see him out of makeup and just be a totally different character, and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and all that. He was so young.
Oh yeah, seeing all of the actors that were normally in makeup not in makeup was mind-blowing to me. When the first time I saw this, when it was brand new years ago, I was like, who are these actors? These actors are really good. I didn't realize there's something very familiar about them until like 3/4 way through the episode. I'm like, oh, that's who that is. I mean, I recognized Odo right away. I was like, oh, well, because I knew him from Benson back in the day. Mm-hmm. But all the other actors, I didn't necessarily recognize. It was kind of neat to watch all of that.
And did you know that this was the very first time Michael Dorn had ever appeared as a human in any Star Trek episode, and
really?
Also the only time Quark and Odo were human with no makeup in a Deep Space Nine episode?
That was pretty wild.
And having them all out of makeup was referenced in the show when Odo, the Pap's character, stated that the publisher wanted to have pictures of all of the writers to see what they look like. So that was one of the notes that I read, that it was a nod to fans wanting to see what they look like. Yeah, the fans wanting to see what the actors look like out of makeup.
I like that.
You noticed that they also tapped into something. It was a combination of what's still going on, unfortunately, on Earth today, is that they had both sexism and racism, and where she's like not a visitor, it's like, I suppose I sleep in late this morning, huh?
Well, yeah. And
he goes, yeah. And so was Sisko.
And her character was Casey Hunter. And that was because they wouldn't let a woman write sci-fi.
It's basically, that was kind of a call to DC Fontana, right?
Yeah.
Yep. They didn't let because she was a very good script treatment for Star Trek on the original series. So it was pretty good. They
had Julian and Kira married in this episode, as the human characters, because they were married in real life at the time.
And it was funny, it also, as a racist part of the situation, what a lot of people thought they brought up in a subtle way, is like, who would believe a Negro with a typewriter? And it's a throwback how they didn't believe that Black people could fly planes. And
I could not understand this. And it's because I was brought up by my parents. So the whole racism thing in general blows my mind, because I cannot understand it. That idea that somebody, just because of the color of their skin, they couldn't work a typewriter or like you said, fly the plane. It upsets me that people actually thought that way. I cannot get that.
And still think this way. We're all freaking human. We're all, people. There's no reason why people should be acting this way.
It does not compute for me. I cannot understand it.
A lot of it came from being able to rationalize of how people get treated. They had actual scientists back during slave times that said that it was anatomically proven that Black people had smaller blood vessels in their heads, so they were not as highly intelligent, and they could not perform high G maneuvers in a plane because of the tiny blood vessels.
What the fuck is wrong with people?
They said we're predisposed to be lazy. They said we're predisposed to be runaways. And they had written books on these things, which people bought into.
How much you want to bet every single one of them scientists had little dicks?
Well, throughout my life, my personal experience has always been that I have known more white assholes and dipshits and evil people ever than I have ever known a minority to be an asshole. Usually minorities and Black people are the nicest people. They're very nice. They have empathy. They're kind. I mean, you talk to honestly a white person, and most white, no offense, Rock, most white men are assholes.
I can be one if I need to, but I try not to. I don't need to be.
No, it comes down to what it is when somebody gets along and they get used to a certain standard of living. They get used to a certain belief point. Anything that comes against that, it's painful and it hurts. It's like holding a mirror up. Like they did a really good job when he stood out there and they're badgering Sisko. It's like, where'd you get the suit?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like, watch your tone. What are you, a janitor? You know, and it's like when he couldn't prove it, and it's like, well, just run him in anyway and check for priors.
I know that really bothered me.
It's like this whole city is going to hell. You know, this whole city is going to hell. They just let anyone in here. It comes to what some people will sit and look like, I don't want to feel less than what I am. So as long as I got somebody that I could point out to say that at least I'm better than them, I feel good about myself. As soon as that target starts to elevate, how dare you get to that point? How dare you try it? Just like the woman they had with the dog in Central Park at the Ramble. Yeah. You're going to tell me to put my dog on a leash? Who the fuck do you think you are? I'm a white woman with my dog. You don't tell me to put my dog on a leash.
But it's like the rule. You're supposed to have a leash on your dog.
Exactly.
Hello.
But she's like, I know what I can do to get you out of here. In fact, I have a weapon.
What she did was disgusting.
It was. Like, I have a weapon. I'm going to call the police and tell them that you're a black person harassing me, and I'm going to make this sound like you're harassing me, knowing full well there's a really good chance when the police come, there was going to, unless it was some good cops. There are good cops out there, but if one showed up, they would have shot him and killed him.
You know what's funny is I was watching something with the Morgans, Friday Night with the Morgans, Jeffrey Dean Morgan and his wife. They have a little a Zoom talk show on Friday nights on AMC, and they had Coleman Domingo and Yvette Nicole Brown on as guests last night.
And it was this.
Yeah, it was an extra long episode. It was normally they're only half an hour. This was a whole hour, and they discussed Black Lives Matter and the whole situation that was going on. And Coleman had said about that woman in the park with her dog, they had made some comment about, her shrieking was, pretty good acting. And Coleman's like, high school acting.
Nice.
And that's about the mental level she probably was on. I think a lot of this is mental, though. I think a lot of it is, and I've talked about this before with, you guys, but not on air. But I think a lot of it has to do with these people are sort of like narcissists because there's no empathy. What you see from them is they want power over another person. They want to have control over another person. They're so insecure and they don't like themselves or like what's going on in their life that they feel that in order to feel better, they have to take control over someone else and make someone else feel like shit. And we see a lot more narcissism in our culture and our society nowadays. And it's just despicable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sucking times right now for a lot of things. It bothers the hell out of me.
One of the things which Deep Space Nine had touched on Far Beyond the Stars is that you hear about the social where they said that a lot of black people are criminals. But if you look, when I was growing up, there were less that you can hold up as being heroes to emulate. When you're in a poor environment and you're looking for a way to get out, the only ways out was either doing crime or trying to be a sports person. Mm-hmm. So, and the fact that they showed him as being a baseball player, it's, again, being someone who's athletic. I'm athletic. I had a way to get out. And then you had Jake being a hustler. He's finding a way to get out. None of this is going to work for me. I have to be a hustle. So you had people growing up in a poor neighborhood. Look at the guy. He's got a nice car. How did he do that? Well, he sells crack. Well, I want to sell crack. I want to have a nice car. I want to be able to do that. And even if you ask now, when I was growing up, they asked a lot of kids, who is your people? Who is your hero? Who do you look up to? Kids at that time looked up to Martin Luther King. People looked up into Washington Carver. You had people who looked up to black inventors or writers. Now, 9 times out of 10, if you ask another young black kid, who do you look up to? It's going to be an entertainer. Mm-hmm. The only way you can do it is by entertaining people. We've lost a lot of that.
Yeah, man. my friends, they do rap music, and they've done the gangster movies that I've worked on. Highly entertaining, but they also, you see the way they look at the street life of modern day, and it's all about that hustle. It's that quick fix. It's not legal, it's not right, but boy, I can get rich quick, and I'm gonna, there's nothing better going on for me, so I might as well do it while I can. Is kind of that attitude they get. You see a lot of the kids joining gangs and things like that because they can get what they want versus putting in the hard work and doing it the right way.
No, I don't agree with that. I think what a lot of it is, we see this a lot. We see our prison system just going completely stir crazy with people being thrown in there for minor offenses where they really should not be thrown in there for minor offenses or for something that they didn't even do at all. And a lot of it is the criminal system gains more people in the prisons. A lot of them are unfortunately colored skin, black skin, minorities, that type of a thing. And when you come out, they can't get a normal job. When you go to an application and you're filling out an application, they always ask you that question. And as soon as you answer, truthfully, you don't have that job. There's not the opportunities available to you that would be to other people. And because we have systemic racism in this country, there's not a lot of help out there for them, and they're sort of put in a bad situation.
That's always bothered me about that, because you do put somebody in jail for that long time, and they sit there and they go through programs. They don't just sit around and make license plates or whatever.
Jails make criminals.
Well, they make criminals, that's true, but they have programs in some of them where they try to get them educated a little bit better, and
it's free work and everything.
But the problem is you come out of that situation and you get hit right there. You hit with the job interview, and it's like, oh, what would you have any criminal record? Well, yeah. Oh, we don't want you working with us. Sorry. It's the same kind of problem. Yeah.
To start off how the prison system works here, because we're, as an industrialized country, we have the highest number of people in prison than anywhere in the world. It started off when the Civil War happened.
Before you go on, isn't it 5%? America has 5% of the world's population, and we have 25% of the prisoners.
Exactly. But there's a reason for that. When the Civil War happened and a lot of slaves was freed, the South lost their work party, so to speak. They had all this free because they were built on labor that they were getting off of their slaves that they had. So what they did is that they turned around and they created their slave catchers. These are people that went out and found up trumped up ways to bring Black people back and put them in prison, which then now they have free labor again. And they found that currently that is the biggest way they can do by privatizing the prisons and keeping the free labor going. A lot of people don't know that Victoria's Secret, you have Starbucks, you have IKEA, you have help desks. Oh, there's a good time if you call a help desk, you could be talking to someone in prison. They have all that, and they pay them. They got lingerie. They have all these people in prison that they pay $1 an hour. It's not just license plates anymore. They're making car parts. They're doing furniture. They're doing clothing. They're doing all for next to nothing. Next to nothing. That's the new industrial. So they got to keep that machine filled. They got to, and how do you do it? By keeping people in prison. If you have someone that's poor, that can't afford bail, they're in jail for 3-4 years before they even get a court date. Yeah. Because it's so backed up.
And they make it so hard for them to stay out of prison. The recidivism is such a huge problem. They come out, and instead of, turning right, they make it so hard for them to actually turn right. They just go back to crime and, get right back into that.
That's a situation that hopefully that will change and is going on. Like one of the things that's happening now, they're trying to change the narrative, is you hear everybody yelling about defunding the police, and they believe that defunding the police means taking the money away and getting rid of the police department. And that's not what it means. It means that taking some of the funding that goes to the police. If the police, let's say, have a $25 million budget, and in this country, if you call 911, no matter what the emergency is, the police show up. That's not necessary. If you have someone dealing with a mental health crisis, you don't need the police there. You need a mental health person. So what they're saying is it takes some of that money away and put it to somebody. If you call 911, that a mental health person show up, not a police officer.
I've been in that situation before where someone I loved that was really close to me had a mental problem. He had a mental disorder. And I called, he was threatening suicide and all that. And so I called the suicide hotline. and they were horrible. They basically said, well, if he's going to kill himself, he's going to kill himself. And the only two options that you have is you can either call the police, which they'll come with guns and they will not make the situation any better, or you could take him to the hospital and they will hold him there against his will. So that's what we did. We went to the hospital and it was not a good experience at all.
Yeah,
so,
there's no way to win in any of those situations.
No.
Yeah, what we have right now with the police, it needs to change. This is ridiculous. We need something better than this.
That's why they meant about defunding is not getting rid of the police department, is by putting money in. Why do you need the police to pull someone over if they're speeding? You need a traffic person to do it. You don't need the police to show up for everything that goes on.
No.
However, if it's a dangerous situation, then yeah. But you don't need all that money. Put the money where it can be good. If you got a homeless person, why send the police there? Send somebody from social services to find out if they could find a place to place the person or to help them. If you have someone who's having mental issues, how many police actually know how to handle somebody that is
that's having a mental issue? Yeah, there's a special kind of responding to that kind of call. I don't know if they all go through the training, but there is special training involved in, like an autistic person or person just out of their head at the moment.
It's not just training, it's the whole system. I mean,
I like the look at, let's look at the entire system and say, maybe we can change something here. Maybe we can adjust it. The people that they're hiring isn't good people, but they're not finding out that they're not good people. I knew people in the police department. I knew people in authority. They're narcissist assholes. They're evil. Okay. They're not good people. They want to be in power over other people. And that's why they're in the job that they're in.
It takes more training to become a barber than it does to be a police officer.
Yes.
So that's what they're talking about. When they say defund the police, they're not talking about giving the police. They're talking about putting money allocated to where it's needed. And some of that budget is also going for what you just stated, Patrick, is to go into training them even more to handle the situation. That's why over in England, they do have racist things that happen from time to time, but the police don't show up with guns. They show up if they need a guns act. They got a whole special division that will show up for the gun. They try to de-escalate. There should be more money spent on de-escalating a situation. Like that poor kid that was dressed up as Afro Samurai in front of the store. The police came and threatened him. He ran away, and they said that he threatened him, but yet he was shot in the back 4 times. Shot in the back. So how can he be threatening you running away?
Yeah.
With the costume. So there's little things like that. If they had training on how to de-escalate, it wouldn't be as bad. But we've jumped off topic from the show a little bit.
Yeah, why are we talking about Star Trek here?
So we're going to go back to, I thought the part was funny is when you had Jadzia Dax, when she was reading the script, and she goes, "Oh, she's got a worm in her belly."
It was such the funny moment because that's the character reading that. It was so funny. It was like, and the way she delivered that line was just classic.
Yeah.
It was great. It was like in character, in time. It was so funny. It was a good moment.
But I even liked the part where they got Herb, which was, why am I not doing, did you sure you gave me coffee and not tea, Heather? Are you sure?
I might have given you those same mushrooms that made Sisko hallucinate to begin with.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Quark, he was an ally, basically. Anytime that something wasn't wrong, he stood up to it. It's like, that's not right. You shouldn't be doing that. That's not right. You should be, So it's like, good on him. That was really good.
Yeah.
That I liked.
Yeah. He every time there was Odo's character, Pabst, anytime he gave a reason for, Sisko's character not being able to either get published or blah, blah, blah. Quark was there right there saying, you know what, that's bullshit. And what I saw was the Pabst character, Odo, instead of doing the right thing, he used the excuse that, the owner doesn't want this to happen. So he didn't stand up for anything that was, right or just. To me, it was an excuse for him not to have to get involved.
Yeah. Well, Quark called it out. He was a coward.
But they also talked about the same way in which Star Trek is able to get the message across, because if they tried on a regular show, a lot of the concepts Gene Roddenberry wanted to put out couldn't put them out. but they had to say it was fantasy. And in his case, like, about if you made the black character, it's a dream.
It's a dream. Yeah. Well, it's always a big dream. That might fly. Like, really? That blew my mind.
Honestly, this episode, that's exactly what happened with this episode.
It was all a dream. Yeah.
Yes, but it was pretty cool. And one of the things which was really, really subtle, if you notice when Sisko was walking by the nightclub that was there were white people outside the club, because back during the time they had speakeasies. And this is where I find it very funny. So we're going to get a little history lesson here. Back during the time of segregation, and the Ku Klux Klan was instrumental when it came to segregation, and they were also instrumental in putting the Prohibition Act together. Mm-hmm. When they did the Prohibition Act, what that did, it created the mafia, because now they found a way to be able to get money by selling and making alcohol. They needed to sell the alcohol. So what did? They opened up speakeasies. The speakeasies, they needed to have entertainment. What do? You get the talented black musicians with the talented white musicians getting together and playing music. Now you have people who normally would have never, ever, ever saw black and white people together are now seeing them together, playing music, having fun, drinking, everything else. So the Ku Klux Klan, in a way, was instrumental in wind up having segregation end, as well as the end of Prohibition by doing that. And you saw they started being all together. And I thought that was kind of cool to see that happen, because a lot of people, you can look it up in history. That's how it started. That's how the race mixing that there was so much against started, was with the speakeasies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
That is history right there. That blows my mind.
Yeah. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Totally.
I thought it was pretty cool. But Sisko's dad, oh my God, some of the lines that the prophets had. And it's the same what we go through now. Hope and despair walks arm in arm.
Yeah, I wrote that one down word for word.
Oh, I like line. You are the dreamer and the dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a good one.
It was really good. I mean,
it was so nice the way they combined the two storylines, the future and the fantasy. It was such blended together really gracefully, and yet at the same time jarring when it needed to be. So when you saw the beatdown, you suddenly seen a Cardassian there for a cut. And then it was like, wait a second. Yeah.
And they
did that. And Worf coming in and scaring the hell out of him, because he's like, whoa, where'd this guy come from?
That was so perfect. The police were Cardassians.
Yeah.
It was really, they show again, they're beating him as an unarmed man, because like, how dare you interfere? It's like the guy had a crowbar. Why you shoot him? He had just a crowbar.
That shit pisses me off too, man. I could not understand that mentality either. They didn't just beat the guy. They would knock him down and cuff him. That's what you would think a cop would do today. No, they sat there and beat the hell out of him until he was probably very unconscious and had trouble walking the next day. I mean, that's uncalled for.
It happened in the 60s, and you see it happening today.
Now. Yeah, it's so disturbing that there's no need for that level of violence.
If you want to get a more of an inkling on what goes on, it's on YouTube and it's for free. For those of you who get a chance to research it, Dave Chapelle had a half an hour special he did for free for everyone called 847. Oh, no, it's 847 or it's 846?
I think it was 846.
847.
Yeah, 840. Oh. I think it's one, but you need to see it. Let me just verify.
And while you're looking that up,
it's 847.
Also, it is 847? Okay.
Wait a minute. No, it's 847.
It's 847. It says Dave Chapelle and a number. You can go for it.
It's Dave Chapelle Netflix special. Even though it's a Netflix special, it's on YouTube for free. It's called 846.
And that's the amount of time, right? That number is the amount of time. Yeah.
That the knee was on George Floyd's neck.
Man.
But he brings up some really, really thought-provoking points there. So for those of you that want to be able to see it, it's not Star Trek related, but it'll get you to understand a little bit on what's going on and why.
Another thing, too, since we're doing recommendations, is we're going to add more numbers to it. Watch the 13th. That's really good, too.
The 13th was really, really good.
Yeah.
That's another one that lets you know. Yes. And it does let you know some of the topics that I had mentioned. It will tell you. The reason why I'm finding hopefulness in this whole situation that's going on is before, whenever you had somebody that comes along that had a centralized voice in the following, they get taken out. Malcolm X was all about black people. Then he went to Africa, found out it wasn't all just about Black people. It's about getting everybody together to be able to understand this. Went to Martin Luther King and said, I'm going to join forces with you because you're right. It's about all of us being together on this and not as isolating white people from the struggles. And what happened? He got killed. You had Martin Luther King came up and talked about, I have a dream of how little white boys and little Black girls and everybody will hold hand in hand, that we will be judged by the content of our character and our heart and not by the color of our skin. They took him out. Now there's no central voice.
Yeah.
There's nobody to take out. Everybody's outraged together. Voices are sprung up all over the place. They can't stop it.
I love Twitter. Twitter has come over the last decade and opened shit up because everybody's got this voice on Twitter. Everybody's got the other voice on Twitter too. You got to watch out for them. But people have a voice on Twitter and people are being heard.
Yes.
And finally, they're marking the orange orangutan at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They're marking his tweets
checking, right? Just a little fact checking.
And then he flips out about it and oh, I'm gonna stop Twitter from doing it.
That's his solution is let's sue people over it. But yeah, not to get too political, but what the fuck?
Exactly.
But like you said in the show, and I agree with this 100%, you cannot destroy an idea.
Nope.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
And that's the idea we have right now. You know, I accept everybody. I don't care if they're white, purple, orange, polka dots. I don't care if they're bi, tri, omni, poly. I could care less.
Now, you said you wished I was green. Come on now.
Yeah, I did.
One of the green dancing
women. There you go. Oh, wow. That sounds like a fun show.
Then I can get that drink discount. Are you kidding?
There you go. That's true.
You know, if I go to McDonald's and I have a Big Mac and you sit down and have a fillet of fish, I'm not going to be pissed off because you're eating the fillet of fish.
I would be. I can't stand those things.
It's not going to make me not enjoy my Big Mac. Even if I hate the fillet of fish, I'm going to say, how dare you have the fillet of fish when there's a perfectly could care less. Enjoy your fillet of fish. I'm good. Eddie Murphy said it once in one of his routines. He said he's got nothing about gay people. He'll go out and play tennis. Everything says, what are you doing after the game? He says, I'm going to have a beer. What are you doing? He says, I'm going to suck them dick. And he says, well, you're going to enjoy that dick. I'm going to go have my beer.
That's all good.
It's all good.
I love it, man.
It's all good. So I don't get it. And I guess I'm more like that because I dealt with racism. I can tell stories that would curl your toes of the things that I've had to go through. And that still, I did not make me turn against white people. But I can understand why some have because of
it's not on the same level, but you know, I've experienced homophobia all my life and you know, thing. Yeah, I mean, there's literally walking down the street, you know, fearing that I could be, you know, beaten up or killed just because of who I am is, you know, even to this day, and I'm 52 years old now, even to this day, I still have that in the back of my head. You know what I mean?
It's definitely a feeling. Yeah. It's definitely a feeling. A lot of people feel the same way when you're in a car and you see the police behind you. Even though you know you didn't do anything, you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach. What's going to happen?
That was one of those things I read by on Twitter is like, you know, if you're like me, you get that feeling like, oh, I'm going to get a ticket. You don't get a feeling like, that I could get shot right
die.
Now. Yeah. I'm not fearing for my life because somebody pulled me over. That blows my mind, scares the fuck out of me. I don't understand it.
I was watching something there, and they were saying that a lot of the things that we see, especially like on YouTube and Twitter with the videos, it's people, cops pulling people over and then shooting them and killing them. And you watch this, you see the videos of this, and oh my God, the woman in the vehicle who sees her boyfriend just shot and killed, and she has to keep her calm. She has to say, you know, yes, sir, no, sir, my hands are right here. I mean, one should have to go through that.
It's horrible.
One, especially by the people who are here to protect us, not kill us.
Well, Amber Ruffin, who's a writer on the Late Night with Seth Meyers, all last week she was at the beginning of the show. She was telling stories about her encounters with different, you know, police at different times in her life. And she said there was one time they were going to some party and, you know, they were dressed up and it was her and a white friend and the white guy was driving. And then they got pulled over. And she goes, that cop was so nice to him, you know, And then, but the reason they got pulled over was because there had been a lot of prostitution in that area. And so the cop automatically assumed that she was a prostitute.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then the white guy started getting mad, and kind of talking back to the cop. And Amber was like, "Girl, you gonna get me killed. You better shut up," But and then the cop actually like acquiesced and let them go. But, she's like, that would never have happened if the other person in the car had been black too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's just
95% the time when I get pulled over, when they see my military ID, it usually de-escalates. But I was always told by my parents when I was growing up is that you always are polite. You never argue, you agree. And the only one time that I ever did argue back with an officer, I got the ticket because I challenged him and he didn't like that. And I was driving prime time. I was driving a van to an airport shuttle and he tried to say I was speeding and I wasn't. And I was being argumentative and he got really, really pissed off about it. So, but all the other times I don't know why I decided to argue at that time, because sometimes you get upset, but all the time is yes, sir. No, sir. License, registration. It's in my pocket, sir. Do you mind if I get it? Yes, sir. And then hand it to him and everything else. What are you doing? Where are you going? And always be polite. Never get out of your car right away. Never you just roll your window down and keep your hands on the steering wheel.
MacArthur Park in down near Koreatown in LA. It used to be this huge drug den, basically. I mean, everyone knew that that's where you could get drugs. This was like in the late 80s, early 90s. And this is when I was, doing my party thing. I had taken the metro from Long Beach. I was going to go to someone's house in Koreatown. And so I got off at MacArthur Park stop. And then I had crossed the street and was waiting at the bus stop for my friend to come get me. The cops stopped me because I was white. He goes, "You don't belong in this neighborhood." I was like, wow, that is just freaking, it kind of blew my mind. I was like, okay, so you're stopping me because I'm a white person in what would, I guess you would not consider a white neighborhood. I mean, it didn't make any sense to me at all.
I got friends who had something like that. He was the white guy with a bunch of Latinos, and those guys were all mixed together. So I think there's a black guy and some Latinos and the one white guy. They got pulled over, and the other guys had their typical horrible experience with the cops. And the white guy was like hearing, "Why are you hanging out with these guys?" Except they didn't use the word "these guys." And so I don't know if that was embellishment or not, but because I've heard these guys tell stories and sometimes they embellish. But the fact is, they said, "Why are you hanging out with these guys?" That's none of their business. It doesn't matter. I mean, friends are friends, and there's nothing wrong with hanging out with people. So I don't know if they fit a stereotype, because these guys were the nicest dudes on the planet. They don't usually get into that kind of trouble, or they've gotten past that in their life. But yeah, the suspicions to pull people over and the stuff they find when you watch the live cop shows, now that they've all been freaking canceled, yeah. And I understand there's reasons behind that too. And there's not to do with just, F the police, but you watch them work and they will pull people over because that little license plate light's out or because the turn signal didn't work. They're just a minor traffic excuse to pull somebody over that actually looks suspicious to them. And it's just a part of that system that's like, well, if they break this rule, I can do this. It's disturbing. They don't even, how many times have you been told there's a light that's out and you go back and look at it, you jiggle it, the light works fine.
The police could technically pull you over or stop you for, and I quote, looking suspicious. Now, what the hell does looking suspicious mean?
Yeah.
You basically could pull anyone over for any reason, and then they just give some technical babble and some bullshit reason.
When I was in college in Ringe, New Hampshire, I went to the movies with a friend of mine, Jude, and he was another black guy, and we went with two white girls. So we went and saw a movie, stopped at McDonald's. When we went into McDonald's, the place was staring at us like we had third eyes. So we're in there, we eat our food, we get back, we go to drive to campus, and we're in the car laughing about the fact that how all the people were staring at us. This is, they thought we were interracial couple. All of a sudden, police lights were behind us.
Oh.
We get pulled over. Spotlight is big on the car. Oh, I forgot. There was one other white guy that was there. He was driving. So they get over to the car and he asks, officer, why did you pull us over? And he goes, where are you guys from? He says, we go to this college. He goes, let me see your college IDs. He goes, but why did you pull us over? And he raised his voice. Let me see all of your college IDs. We gave him the college ID. He went back to his car for 10 minutes. We're sitting there waiting. He comes back and he gives back our ID. So he goes, are you sure you guys are at this school? Yes, we are. Why did you pull us over? And he goes, stay there. And he goes back to his car again. Now we're like, what the hell is going on? And we're still there. He comes back again and goes, I thought you guys were drunk driving. I see you're not drunk driving. Go ahead and go to campus.
Oh, that's...
He never asked the guy he never asked the guy to come out of the car. Never asked us to come out of the car. Anything. This is, I think you guys were drunk driving. Go. So the next morning we went to the office on campus and talked to the office on there what was going on, the complaint. Their solution was, don't go to town with a white girl.
What?
That's what they told us. Do not go into town with a white girl. The townies don't like it.
Fuck. What the fuck?
Just
yeah, it's all these stories that we've all heard these stories from all kinds of people. These are not new stories. These are stories that are still happening today. And this is the most aggravating thing about this is something that should not be happening now, especially it's fucking 2020. It doesn't matter if you're a Star Trek fan or not. You understand this should not be happening now. What is wrong? Why? How can we fix this problem?
Well, I think the first thing, yeah, exactly. The first thing is the police, because if you guys saw that video of the police pushing that 70-year-old guy and then he hits his head and starts bleeding from his ear, before the video was released, they let out a statement saying that the old man tripped and fell. And then the video came out.
Yeah.
What we need to do is band together. The thing is what I get, and I understand why people try to say that all lives matter, but it's not about just all lives matter. When people are hunting the whales and you say save the whales, nobody ever stops and, well, fuck the dolphins. Are you saying that dolphins don't matter? Nobody ever said that. When somebody says we need to save the rainforest, nobody turns around and says, well, what about regular forests? Nobody ever says that. If somebody's wearing a pin, we need to be able to help breast cancer. Nobody says, oh, so you're just going to leave colon cancer out of it? It's not about that. What happens is that it's understood that all lives matter. But when any section of a society, anything that happens, we concentrate on that. When the Boston bombing happened, everyone said Boston strong. Nobody says, well, New York needs to be fucked. Nobody said that. When they had the same thing, I stand with Oklahoma, when the Oklahoma bombing happened. So saying Black Lives Matter is basically saying the same thing as saying, save the whales. We know that all fish life is important. We're just concentrating on the people or the object that is being attacked right now. And if we all join hands and we all come together and not allow the media to think that we're all separate, then this will change for good.
All lives will matter. And you can say that when Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Because until that happens, together. And until it's seen that Black Lives Matter, then you can't say all lives matter because they don't.
And you can, if that's the case, if all lives matter, what about those kids that are still in cages at the border?
Yeah.
If all lives matter, they shouldn't be in cages at the border anymore. But yet, they forgot about them because it's not on the news. And just recently, they lost like another 1,500 kids. They don't know where they went.
Oh my God!
They have no idea where the kids are. So and it just annoys me. And the guy that fell and hit his head, that didn't fall, but he was pushed down, wasn't a Black person. So it shows you that the problem isn't just with the way the police treat Black people, is that they have to be systematically re-educated and redone so they don't go out there thinking that they're gangbusters. They're acting like the military. Okay, even in the service, if you're at a combat area and you're on guard duty at a base, you have your weapon, it's loaded. Unless they tell you weapons free, you cannot fire your weapon. Oh. Even if you're being fired on, if you're on guard duty and you're fired on, they have to give you permission to fire your weapon. Or you have rules of engagement. If a person has a gun and you see they have a gun, as long as that gun is not pointed at you, you cannot fire at them. You can tell them to give me the gun, give me this. And if they don't do it, that's all you can do. But as soon as they raise that gun up to aim at you, then you have your God-given right to fire back. Why do the police get more of a leeway than anybody in a combat zone?
Yeah.
Well, he farted. I think the fart aggressed me. Shoot him.
He farted in my direction. he aimed that fart right at me.
I was downwind.
Seriously. I was handcuffing him, and it was a wet fart.
Oh, man. That's some serious issues.
He sharted his pants at me.
I can't wait till we actually get phasers, because they can set those fuckers to stun.
Right.
At least that will save some of this problem, right?
No, because then they'll turn around and say accidentally on kill.
Oh,
yeah. Or you see videos of the police right now using stun guns on people who aren't doing anything. They're being not aggressive.
That's inappropriate use.
Yeah, and they're saying they're tasing him like over and over and over again.
Like that one guy who said when they tased him, it's I have a heart condition. Please, I cannot breathe. I have coronary heart condition. And they're like,
they killed somebody up here who had a mental issue, and they stunned the hell out of him, and they kept stunning him. They didn't stop. They kept stunning him.
Wow.
And that's not the rules that they have. They're not supposed to continuously stun somebody. And the guy had a heart condition, and it offed him.
I heard that there was the cops shot a deaf man because he wouldn't respond to their commands. Well, hello, he's fucking deaf. He can't hear you.
Yeah.
And they killed him.
That's why the training needs to be. That's why it needs to be more training. It's not to get rid of them, but they need to have more training and also to be able to know how to de-escalate the situation. They need to know how to get that. Go ahead.
I saw on Instagram the other day a post from this young black man. I felt so bad for him because he was saying in the post that, I'm really scared when the police come up because I'm deaf. So when I start signing to them, I don't want them to think that I'm throwing them gang signs or anything. Like I'm scared, and I can't hear them. I'm deaf, I felt so bad for this kid.
And a lot of times you have people run for that sole reason because they're scared. They had a kid they caught on camera. He actually stopped at the stop sign. He stopped, but the police put the lights on and he kept driving, and he drove all the way to his grandmother's house. He was like 18 years old. And they pulled out the gun, and the kid kept screaming, "What did I do? What did I do? I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing." And the kid's screaming and yelling. They call for other cops, and the guy is on the ground crying, terrified. His 90-year-old grandmother comes out and stands over him. Leave my grandson alone. And they're still screaming and yelling. And they go over to arrest this poor kid. And the grandmother loses her balance and falls to the ground. And everybody's yelling what they're doing for supposedly a stop sign. And they showed on camera that the guy actually stopped. You see, and there's a video, if you guys want to see it out there. It's called it's a black-white AK-47. And they showed that sometimes it happens if you think that there isn't. They had a white guy with an AK-47 walk down the street with open carry law. Police comes up to him, "Why are you carrying it?" It's an open carry. Let me see your ID. I don't have to show you ID. You need to tell me why you stopping me. The whole thing didn't do anything. Yeah. They had a black guy walk down the street. Cop car stops almost up the block from him, pulls out his gun. "Get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the ground." Before you know it, like 5 other cop cars come. They take the gun away. Yeah,
the woman was pregnant.
Yeah, the woman filming was pregnant. They made her get down and she's yelling, "I'm pregnant." They take the gun away and they arrest him. Same law, same state.
Yeah, I saw that video. That was disturbing.
The good thing about all this is we have our phones have all these damn cameras now, so we can definitely get this shit out in the open and point to it and say, "Hey, can we friggin' fix this?" I think we're in a good time in the world right now that maybe we can make some change. For God's sake, I hope we can, because it would suck to have it go the other way and nothing happens again. Time after time you hear things like this, and did anything change? Really, did anything change? And we're dealing with it right now. So
this type of behavior from humans is just unacceptable.
It's horrible.
Just unacceptable, and should not even be in the realm of possibility for these people. And to have the people in authority displaying these type of actions.
And I don't even want to talk about the president.
Oh God, don't even get me started.
How did that happen? Why did that happen?
Russia.
It was
Russia. Sure.
It was also the backlash on some of the people when President Obama became president. People threw up their hands.
And I couldn't understand that either. Why the hell did that happen? I don't understand any of this.
No, they said racism's dead.
Obama was a damn good president.
Yes, he was.
They said racism's dead. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
Mitch McConnell said that that voting in a black president was reparations for slavery. I'm paraphrasing that, and this was a year ago. But he said basically that because we elected a black president, that's reparations for slavery. Why do we keep beating a dead horse?
It's 2020, and when's the last time we had slavery? I don't understand that shit either. God.
No, we still have it.
McConnell's probably on the Russian payroll too.
Yeah, exactly. What was going on with all this? So, maybe it's because I'm a crazy Californian. That's probably what it is. I just need to shut up and stay in California. I don't get it.
You liberal tree hugging Californians.
I like the tree. There's nothing wrong with trees. They give them a shade.
I miss trees.
And you can chop them up and make a table. I mean, come on.
Oh, the shade of it all.
I miss going outside.
We have to do what Sisko said in the very end of it when he says, "Are we living in a dream?" And he says, Benny Russell is dreaming of us. And right now, collectively, we're all dreaming of a future where everyone is truly equal.
That really does tie in.
If we keep that dream, we can make a future that equal. We're dreaming of that future where everybody's equal, where truly all lives matter, where everyone has the same opportunity, the same treatment, everything. I'm talking
even the aliens.
Right, even aliens when they come.
But I was going to vote for the robots. I mean, Chief's character had the robot thing, and I was always behind the robot thing. I like the robot thing.
Well, did you notice in the beginning when Sisko's character started writing the story and he looks out the window and he sees Benjamin Sisko from DS9 out the window, and then at the end of the show, Sisko looks out the window and sees Benny Russell.
All of that visual stuff was so beautifully done and so blatantly artsy, but it works so good. I just love it.
It was really good. And that's what we have to do.
Avery did a great job.
Yes, he did.
And the scene where he had the big emotional scene, it was so well done.
And they said when he fell to the ground that they thought he really passed out because he was so into character. They
almost cut that. I think they said they almost cut that, and then he kept going.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was such good acting.
He hit the ground. Yeah, when the frustration and everything he felt, and it is difficult. And that's why that line that they had about hope and despair walks arm in arm hit me particularly hard because you hope that things will get better. You really hope, but then you despair that it won't, that it somehow is going to be turned back, that it's not going to be a thing. And right now, I'm cautiously optimistic that the world will turn better, that everyone will realize that we're basically all the same. Everybody has hopes, dreams. They want to provide for their family. They want to be respected. They want to eat. And there's no such thing as a different race. If you want to come down to it, we're all cousins. We're all less than 30 generations away from each other, 30 connections away. We all started from the same common ancestor in Africa.
We're all family.
I thought it was like a Kevin Bacon reference for a second. Sorry.
No. We all, DNA-wise, we all can be traced back to one common ancestor. So we're all basically like 30 places removed from being related to one another.
My 23andMe has I don't remember what the percentage is. I mean, it's a very small percentage, but it has African.
Cool.
A lot of people, we're all blended together. If you stop to think right now, you're breathing in the same air that Caesar breathed in, that Abraham Lincoln breathed in.
I'm breathing in Caesar's farts?
Basically, yes. They have one molecule. They said there's at least one molecule of water that you drank. They said that Jesus drank. Everybody
I thought you were going to say piss.
Along the same thing, we've recycled everything.
Remind me not to go drinking with Heather either.
I'm not a drinker anyway. It's all good.
No, she does something or else we wouldn't have a pool full of tribbles. So.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's fun. You got to try it. If you surf the Tribble wave, I'm telling you, it's a good experience.
Yeah, then we'd end up like Edward and get a Tribble enema.
Oh.
I'm not saying that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, Tribble enemas are a bad thing.
Typically it looked pretty bad to me.
So while we're talking about funny stuff and whatnot, when Sisko at the very beginning of the show saw the baseball player, which was Michael Dorn, and he walked into the holodeck and then he followed him, he walked into the holodeck and then he got hit by the car. And I'm like, Jesus, I hate it when people don't turn off their video games. And then I walk in and I get hit by a car. Or what happened last week, Patrick, you forgot to turn off your video game and I got eaten by a T-Rex. It was not fun.
I remember.
No, I didn't. I purposely left that on.
You did that on purpose?
Thank God for holodeck safeties.
I was trying to get rid of the Tribbles.
He came down the hallway. He was pushing a broom full of Tribbles, and the holodeck doors were already,
That explains why the T-Rex had fur in between his teeth.
And I got to complain a little bit there with you, Rocky.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I enjoy the fact that you have Marilyn Monroe naked in the holodeck, but you gave her Tribbles for breasts.
I don't think that was me.
Very jarring that somebody did, because that was very jarring.
I mean, I did like the fembots in that Austin Powers movie, but that wasn't me, man. I swear.
What's even worse, when you get near them to touch them, they screamed, and that was not good.
You know the one further down that was real. Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, wasn't going to take a thing of it.
Oh boy!
I told you all my nightmare that I had one time.
Yeah, we named that Tribble Muffy.
I did not want to nibble the Tribble, so.
Especially Muffy. Don't nibble Muffy.
I was going to make a funny little Tribble joke, and you guys took it way dirtier than I was going to take it. I was going to do the happy birthday, Mr. President.
That's the sound they made when I tried to grab it.
Oh, man.
Just be careful about which one you grab.
Grab them right by the Tribble.
Right. You can grab them by the Tribble. They won't complain.
Oh. Kids at home, man. Don't grab the Tribble.
No.
I can't wait until that guy is gone.
Oh, please. I hope it's sooner than later.
Please, yeah.
Oh, and sort of unrelated but related note, on Hollywood Boulevard, they just finished painting it, but it's all Black Lives Matter. They just painted it on the...
They made the mashup. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cool. I'm down with that.
Yeah, and it's in rainbow and trans colors.
Yes.
It's all about the mashup. I mean, that's a good thing.
Love it. I wish here in Las Vegas we were painting streets.
No,
it's too hot.
It would just melt the paint, right?
Yeah.
It won't dry. It just keeps liquid.
Or either that or melt the people who's painting it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this will be a good segue to kind of end up the show with. This has been, I know some of you guys might have tuned out already. If you had, you're not hearing what I'm saying, so poo on you. For those that stayed all the way through, we hope that this was more of an educational episode, and so you have a chance. And also, if you want to find out more, there's going to be links in the show notes there for you guys to be able to see 847 from Dave Chapelle, as well as the link to 13, which will give a really, really good background on everything that's been going on. Last week's episode we have, which was before we had Sons of Thunder. Next week, we're going to go back to our regular programming. We're going to watch Light and Shadows. That's season 2, episode 7. So it's going to be Lights and Shadows. And since we're talking a little bit about equality there, I don't think we follow Children of Mars. Have we done that yet?
We did in one of the earlier episodes, right when we were starting Picard.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. Then we're going to do The Girl Who Made the Stars.
Okay,
so that's going to be the short trek we're going to watch. So it's going to be The Girl Who Made the Stars. So those are your 2 homework assignments for next week. This was a cathartic episode for us because we felt that we needed to be able to put this out there and have a good discussion on it. There's also going to be another link where Chris Red, who's a member of SNL, has a place where you could dedicate to help those that protest if they wind up catching COVID-19 or if they need any type of medical help or help. There's going to be a fund that they can draw from.
You know, discussing this topic and letting people know where we stand, that's part of the Roddenberry vision. I mean, equality and IDIC, it can't exist when in the situation that we see ourselves in now. When people are just when people are being dicks as they are now, you can't have the vision that Star Trek embraces. And So discussing this will hopefully move the conversation forward, so that we can get to that place and have that ideal, society. Because that's what I'm hoping for. I mean, that's my ultimate dream is that, So that was my 2 cents. Sorry.
Well, eventually, no need to apologize on that. I think that it's going to come down, and if we all move together, hand in hand, arm in arm, everybody, I'm talking black, white, yellow, polka dot, even green. If we join arms and we make sure that everyone is treated the same and we stand up for it when we see it, we can get this change and we can get it done. So
but the last time I touched you, I got crabs. So
where the hell are you touching him? Oh my God!
Was it the last time you snuck into his room?
No, he snuck into my room. The rooms are in my name.
That's right, because I trained them. They are well trained. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm counting on everyone who listens to this, to each one teach one, to let the word go out so we can make all of this stuff end. So just don't try to make it end, and just don't try to make a good week. Make it so.
Starfleet Underground, beaming into a podcast feed near you. Log on to our website at starfleetunderground.com and send your comments and questions to thecollective@starfleetunderground.com. Follow us on Twitter at StarfleetUnderG and on Facebook and Instagram, we're Starfleet Underground.